98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
And good morning from Adrian Kennedy. How are you this morning? All good? Hope so. It is the 11th of the 11th, 2020, and we are here until midday today. Lots to get through on the programme as always, but first, you know, some days I like to start with lighter stuff, and today is no exception. A couple of weeks ago on the show, we asked you what silly things you were afraid of as a child. And it was quite funny, actually. So today, we want to focus on your kids and find out what things or people are they afraid of. Now, kids can be funny sometimes and can find fear in the weirdest of things for no apparent reason. So, for example, Jeremy is having an issue at the moment with both of his children. They're both afraid of two very different things. His 6-year-old, for example, is not impressed with his baby sister's realistic-looking dolls and doesn't like being around them. So the little one has to play with the dolls in a separate room from his young fella because he's terrified of the dolls. They're so realistic, he's a bit freaked out by them. He's also not impressed and gets freaked out by the man on the telly or the woman on the telly doing the sign language down in the bottom corner of the screen. And you see that quite regularly on many television programmes. Down the bottom corner of the screen, there's the man or the woman, and they're doing the sign language for those who are hard of hearing. And anytime he or she comes on the telly, Jeremy's young fella asks, why has that person got no legs? And he's completely freaked out by it. And then his little daughter is afraid of men with beards. And it took a couple of weeks to work out what the problem was here. And eventually, Jeremy discovered that his young one, anytime there's a man with a beard, she is completely freaked out. She has a meltdown, which is bizarre. So I want you to send me a WhatsApp voice note right now to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. I want to find out those silly things that your kids are or were afraid of. That just, you took ages to work out what the problem was. So, for example, it took meeting 3 different men with beards for Jeremy and his wife to work out what the issue was. It's the beard. And they've since noticed that if there's a man on the telly with a beard, she doesn't like it. So it's beards. What silly thing is your child or children afraid of? Send me a WhatsApp voice note right now to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98, and let me know what that one thing is that your child is afraid of. So as I said, Jeremy's young fella terrified of, and I know a lot of people actually are terrified of porcelain dolls particularly because they look so realistic. I often get freaked out by them myself, to be quite honest with you. And I also want to find out if there's any other children that are afraid of beards, or is it just Jeremy's young fella? Or young one, should I say. Call me right now on 6797 981 or send us a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. We just want to find out that one small, silly little thing that your child or children are afraid of. And they all have their little idiosyncrasies that they can't get their head around. I remember as a child when I was younger that was terrified of cigarette lighters. Now, they'd never been burned by a cigarette lighter, but was terrified by a cigarette lighter. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note that's just come into us this minute from Geraldine.
My little girl is afraid of an electric toothbrush. So if it's off, there's no issue. She'll pick it up, she'll run around, she'll play, she'll have the electric toothbrush in her hand. As soon as it's switched on, freaks her out completely. She wants it off, she cries, there's a tantrum. So she's afraid of an electric toothbrush, which is strange.
That is a strange one, isn't it? So it's obviously the vibrating or the noise that it makes when it's vibrating is what freaks her out. Now, Katrina, tell me about the Eagles, not the band.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good morning. Yeah, you see, like once we were talking about traveling, and I'm not sure about what country, but she said like, oh no, I'm not going there. I think Australia. I don't know. And she was like, no, definitely I'm not going there, because eagles are there and I'm afraid I'm going to be kidnapped by them, right?
Afraid of being kidnapped by eagles?
Yeah.
Now, okay, this is unusual. And didn't want to go because she could be kidnapped by eagles.
That's correct. Yeah.
Now, I've never heard of a child being abducted by an eagle, but maybe it has happened.
It probably she saw some kind of movie, I would say.
Yeah. Where an eagle swooped down and picked up a child.
Yeah, even though she's 9 years old, okay, so she's quite big and heavy, but she still thinks, it's possible.
That some eagle might swoop down and abduct her.
Yeah.
In fact, do they even have eagles in Australia? I don't know if they have eagles in Australia.
I'm not sure
myself. In fact, Jeremy's just sending me a video, and this is a golden eagle. Oh, right. So this is an eagle flying in the sky here, okay?
Yeah.
This is on YouTube, and it swoops down.
Oh, shit.
Oh, and it actually did pick up a child. Oh, my God.
Really?
This was in Canada.
Oh, right.
Oh.
Hey, votre enfant est correct?
I'm going to let her know where we're definitely not going then.
Oh, that's...
Ça va?
The eagle actually did swoop down to the ground and try. He didn't succeed, but tried to pick up the child. Oh, my God.
That's horrible. You see, so it is true, though, yeah?
Well, yeah. I'm looking at the video. I must get the lads to send you on that video. Maybe your young one saw this video and is completely freaked out by it. So there, it's actually on YouTube. We'll send that link on to you because maybe that's where she got it from. Okay, so is afraid that eagles might abduct her, and looking at that video, that's a reasonable fear. We'll send it on to you, Katrina.
Thanks
very much indeed. All right, 6797981 is our telephone number, or you can send me a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. What is that one little thing that your child is afraid of? This is Alan.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, in fact, I think Alan is on the phone here. Is that right, Alan?
I am indeed, yeah.
There you are, Alan. How are you getting on?
Good, and yourself?
Grand, Alan. Alan, what is that one thing your child is afraid of?
Cats. I'm a 9-year-old girl, and she's afraid of cats. I don't know what it is. She's never had a bad experience with them or anything like that, but she's petrified of them. Just hates cats.
And will she run away from one if she sees one?
Yeah, we could be walking past the house and the cat could be sitting up at the front door and she'd be like, Daddy, Daddy, and she'd jump to the far side of you and she'd hold your hand and stuff. But just, whatever it is, I don't know, maybe they're hearing about witches stories in school or something.
Was she ever scrabbed by a cat or anything?
No. Never a bad experience. Just, I don't know, just doesn't like the look of them. We have 2 dogs, everything, all that, but just cats. She hates them, she's petrified of them.
Yeah, because, no, I wouldn't be afraid of cats, but I just don't like them. And the reason probably I don't like them is the smell they leave behind, and I was actually scrabbed really badly as a young fella by his cat.
Yeah. No, she's had no experience at all like that, It's a strange one. Like, you can turn around and say to her, like, there's a bowl or something, and say, oh, there's a cat or something. She's run, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, right, okay, so it's a big fear. How old is she?
Yeah. She's 9.
She's 9, and just won't go near a cat.
No, just hates them, petrified them.
That's mad. That is. All right. No, I don't blame her. I don't like them myself, but I wouldn't be afraid of them as such. All right. Thanks very much, Alan. This is Dave.
Hey, Adrian, just on what your kids are terrified of. My 2.5-year-old daughter is absolutely terrified of the bin truck. Her bedroom is at the front of the house, so every Tuesday morning at 6:30, she can hear the bin truck. So we're all awoken by, help, help, it's the truck, help, help, Daddy, help. And you have to go in and get her and then take her into our bed, But, the bin truck and the recycling truck, definitely absolutely terrified of. Cheers.
Now, I have to say, Dave, when I was a young fella, I wasn't overly fond of the bin truck because I used to be freaked out by the way it just ate everything. Like, they'd put the bin into it and it would just eat up all of the rubbish. It used to freak me out a little bit. Cassia, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Cassia.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Cassia. Well, what is that one thing that your child is a little bit fearful of?
So she is Natalia, she's 2 and she's gonna be 3 in December. And she was always afraid of all the electronics, like all the toys which make movements with battery operated.
Oh, battery operated toys that move.
We had a really nice Mickey Mouse. My son had it, and I remember when we brought it from the attic for her, she literally freaked out and she ran and she just wouldn't even look at it. And every time, we wanted to kind of play the joke on her, we would put the Mickey Mouse there and tell her, oh, press the nose, it's so cute. And she just would not even look at it or run away. And now we have the iRobot.
Oh, yeah.
And she just wouldn't come close to the iRobot. Every time I said, okay, Natalia, Mommy's putting the iRobot on, she just run on the couch.
Oh, she's absolutely terrified of it.
Absolutely. She won't even come down until sometimes it goes for 30 minutes. She won't come or she just go around it. And if the robot will be in the hall and she will be in the kitchen, she won't come out from the kitchen to go to the living room.
Wow, right.
Yeah.
That's a serious fear. So any moving battery-powered toy just completely freaks her out?
Yeah, she will run, scream and stand on the stairs. She won't come down if there is anything on. We had the Dyson as well, and she was afraid of the Dyson. Every time when we were trying to, hoover, she would just sit on the couch. So now if I want her to be quiet and sit on the couch, I just put the iRobot and I'd be like, okay, Mommy's going, so you just don't move.
That's mad.
So this is actually great, yeah.
All right, Cassia, thanks very much indeed. Let's have a listen to this from Adele.
Morning, Adrian. Adele here, love the show. My 2-year-old daughter she'd be afraid of a few things, the usual spiders, and she doesn't like the top off the tomato. She thinks it's a spider, the little green thing. But the silliest one and the weirdest one that she's afraid of has to be the draft. I just say to my partner, close the door, there's a draft coming in. And she thinks the draft's going to get her. So here's the draft, she says, the draft's going to get me, and she's afraid of the draft.
That's mad, that is. You want to get your house sealed a bit better. Lauren, you have a theory on the eagle fear, where this comes from.
I do. It just came to mind the minute you said it. The Rescuers Down Under is a movie, and in it the eagles, I can't remember the whole story, but I know there was eagles. I don't know whether the eagles capture somebody or the little mice or whatever, but I think when she said it was in Australia, that's the first thing that came to mind was the Rescuers Down Under.
Oh, right, okay. So an eagle actually swoops down and does pick up a child?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah, it's something to do with an eagle and mice.
Oh, right, okay. And as I said, I'm after looking at that video on YouTube a moment ago, and you can clearly see an eagle swooping down and grabbing a child. Now, he doesn't manage to escape with the child, but he did move the child along the ground, which is...
Yeah, I've seen that one before.
Yeah, in fact, loads of people have asked us to send it on to them, so we have done. But yeah, that's really, really freaky. So, okay, that's where that fear comes from. It's from some movie.
I think so, yeah, I think so.
All right, Lauren, thanks very much indeed. We're talking about things that your kids are fearful of. This is Monica.
When my son was younger, he's 19 now, but when he was younger, he was afraid of chickens. Anything related to chickens. Even a picture of a chicken on toilet roll wrappers, anything. The little chicks you get at Easter, terrified. Absolutely terrified of everything. We used to have great fun frightening them with them.
Ah, isn't that awful? We used to have great fun frightening them with chickens. Rebecca!
Adrian, my little girl is terrified of the phone ringing. Like if you put the phone into her hand and ring it, she will throw it and freak out.
Oh my God, that's weird, isn't it? If you want to get one in very quickly, send me a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Little things that your kids are afraid of. Here's Yvonne.
Adrian, my little girl is terrified of the hand dryers in the bathroom, and she's 8 years old, and when someone turns them on, she screams.
I wouldn't be a fan of them myself. The noise of them. I'm always freaked out by the Dyson ones. The ones that the air blade things. Oh no, don't like them. Philomena.
My granddaughter, when she first discovered her shadow. She was terrified. Now, when she sees a shadow, she waves and she runs and catches up and plays with her shadow, which is very funny to see. Anyway, she's no longer afraid of her shadow, but starting off, she used to kick up and scream.
Oh, right, okay, afraid of her shadow. We're being told by a lot of people that the eagle video is fake. It was created by animation students in Montreal, apparently. But it still doesn't. It would explain why some kids might be afraid of being robbed by an eagle if they happen to have seen that video, whether it's fake or not. Lisa?
Hi.
What is your child afraid of?
Two of my kids were afraid of Bear in the Big Blue House. They used to love watching him, but when it came to the part where he used to sniff around the telly, they used to leave the room. And then go back in there.
Yeah, I remember that. And is that still on, or do they even repeat it or anything?
I don't think so. I haven't seen it now. Like my third child, she watched it as well, but she wasn't
freaked out by it.
Freaked out by it, but my 16, well, he's 16 now, and my daughter 13 were.
You have me looking at Bear in the Big Blue House now.
Yeah.
Kitchen's here, bathroom's there. Attic full of stuff here. Pillows full of fluff here.
I always loved him. I thought he was such a nice character, the bear. But the sniffing around he went over to the camera and he started.
Sniffing around. Yeah.
Right, and that was the bit that freaked them out.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. All right, brilliant. Thanks very much indeed.
Right,
and
no problem, Adrian.
let me just squeeze in another couple. This is Naomi.
Hi, Adrian. My son is terrified of ketchup. He hates it so much he can't be in the same room as it. If he's at a birthday party, he'll say he's allergic, so they won't have any on the tables. Bye.
Right. Ketchup. I love ketchup. Ashley.
Hi, Adrian. It's Ashley here. My 9-year-old, when he was 4, was afraid of, do you know those little Bratz dolls? My daughter had Bratz dolls, and there was one in particular with black hair, weird eyes, and a green dress. And if the doll was anywhere near him, he'd lose his life. So I kept it for a while, just to annoy him when he was bold. And then the other day, I said, you know what I've seen that doll in the green dress. Well, he nearly died.
Oh, that's brilliant. Lisa sent me this WhatsApp voice note.
My kids used to be freaked out by the Bear in the Big Blue House when he used to go around sniffing around the edge of the telly. They used to run out of the room when that happened.
I get the strangest feeling she was just on a moment ago. Mark?
My 5-year-old son has decided he is afraid to be on his own and refuses to go to the toilet, refuses to sit and watch TV on his own. He insists that somebody has to be with him at all times. Don't know where this has come from.
Oh, that is a problem. And finally, well, two more. This is Brenda.
We showed our 10-year-old Edward Scissorhands over Halloween period, and he was not impressed. He was absolutely terrified of him. He didn't like anyone with knives for hands, so he said, or scissors. And he also hates the part in Hocus Pocus where Sarah Jessica Parker's character sings and all the kids follow her. He's terrified of Hocus Pocus as well.
That's brilliant. And final one, a good one to wrap up on. Samantha, her child fears nothing.
Hi, Adrian. I think it's very funny listening to what all the little children are afraid of. My little boy, he's 2. Well, he'll be 3 in January. And he's literally not afraid of anything. Nothing. Like, he's not afraid of the dark. He's not afraid of anything noisy like the Hoover or the blender or anything like that. He's not even afraid of spiders or anything that's creepy crawly whatsoever. No, nothing. I guess I'm just still waiting for him to discover what he's actually afraid of. Thanks, Adrian. Love the show. Bye-bye.
That's brilliant, Samantha. Make the most of that child. Make the most of that child if he or she isn't afraid of anything. Anyway, brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for all of your messages. I enjoyed that. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy and we're here till midday today. Now, on the way after the break, we knew this was going to be a problem. And it has turned out to be a major problem. As we know, before level 5 restrictions were introduced, capacity on public transport here in Dublin was at 50%, which made it difficult, but it was copable. But now in level 5, it's been reduced to 25%. And we've had lots of calls from angry commuters standing at bus stops, watching buses drive by. We're going to be talking about that next.
The sound of the city from Perrystown to Portmarnock. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Back when level 5 restrictions kicked in and capacity on public transport was reduced back down to 25%, we had many calls that morning from angry commuters who were standing at bus stops watching buses drive by with less than 20 passengers on board. It's so frustrating for people. And it seems that the problem hasn't gone away, especially for school children. And this morning we want to hear from you if your children, or you for that matter, use public transport to get to school or to work and have found it, extremely difficult. Have your kids or you been left waiting at bus stops on the horrible, dark, cold mornings that we have now? In a moment, I'm going to be talking to a father called Steve who got in contact with us. He said his son goes to school in Rathcoole and uses the 69 bus, limited to 15 seats. They live in Tala, so his son has to travel 7 kilometres to school and 7 kilometres back from school. If he's unable to get the 69 bus at 3:45, then he has to wait till 4:30. And it's a big issue as the nights are coming in early, and not only is it getting dark by that time, but it's also getting very cold. I'll be talking to Steve in just a moment. I'd love to hear from you about the effect it is having on you that capacity on public transport has been severely restricted, down to 25%, and it's a particular problem on the buses because the bus driver is sitting there, he or she has already counted how many people have gotten on. And if he has his capacity, I think it's 17 passengers in a double-decker, he'll just keep driving past the bus stop and leave you standing there. This is a WhatsApp voice note sent to us to 0877 98 98 98 from Jess.
Morning, lads. Just giving you a quick voice message on the topic I have this morning regarding the buses and the kids going to school. Like, my son now is 15 and we live in Clondalkin, and he would head out to the bus, he'd be at the bus stop at 10 to 8 in the morning, and come 10 past 8 I would get about 3 messages: buses after driving by me, another bus is after driving by me, and then I'd get another one, another bus is after driving by me. I'd get another text saying another bus is due in about 45 minutes. By the time that all happens, he's only getting to school at 9 o'clock when he starts at 8:30. Now, thank God the school understands this because I've made them aware of it. Because their policy is if you're late twice in a week, you get detention on a Friday. Now, thank God they understand this and haven't given him detention. Now, at this stage, he is staying down in my parents' house. So it's closer to the school, and it's actually, he can walk to the school. But my fear is if one of the kids in school get COVID, is he going to then bring it home to my parents who are elderly? So I'm so worried, so stressed, trying to keep him in school, trying to get him his education, and it's then putting my parents under risk of getting COVID. So I don't know, can they not just do special buses that go to certain areas that can pick up kids? I know still have a maximum of 20 or so on a bus, but just do a few of them just for the kids going back to school. I think it would work out a lot better for the kids, but I'm sure it's only an option of it, I'd say. Okay, chat soon. Bye.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Jess. Now, Steve, you got in contact with us. I read your message out a moment ago about your son who goes to school in Rathcoole and uses the 69 bus, so from Tala to Rathcoole every day, and this has become a major problem.
Yeah, it has, Adrian. It's actually my stepson. Fortunately, I give him a lift in the morning because we got the 2 kids off at different schools around the same time. But it's a really big issue on the way home because he gets the bus home. And there's 2 69 buses parked outside the school when he leaves. Both of them only taking, I thought it was 15, but probably 17 students each. And that's it. Yesterday there were 10 or 12 students still stood there waiting. After the two buses pulled away, had to wait till 4:30 for the next bus or walk home.
And obviously a 7-kilometre walk isn't that much of an option, really, is it?
Well, no. I mean, he did it yesterday.
Oh, really? He walked the whole 7 kilometres home yesterday?
Yeah, he did. He got in about 5:15. We didn't know where he was. We didn't know why he was late. Didn't have a phone on him. But yeah, the frustrating thing is that there was, like I say, about 12 other students that also didn't get on the bus. Some of them living as far away as Lucan. But there was the 269 Dublin buses outside the school, and then there's 2 private buses. Now, the private buses are about €40 a week, I think it is, to take kids to school and back. But there's no capacity limit on those.
No, because they're just for students.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And this seems to be a particular problem here in Dublin, where we don't have, generally speaking, the same sort of school transport that they would have down the country, because we have public transport in Dublin, so we're lucky from that point of view. But the restriction applies to Dublin bus, but doesn't apply to school buses down the country. So,
but what if Dublin Bus put on a school bus? Like I say, there's two double-decker buses parked outside the school, both of them number 69. It's a dedicated one of them as the school bus and the other as the public transport bus. That problem would be solved, because they could fill one double-decker up with the students and get them all home.
Mm. Yeah, for the life of me, I can't understand why that hasn't happened, except that some kids use, buses from outside their school and just go 3 or 4 stops. Others go 7 or 8 stops. Do you know what I mean? It would be kind of difficult for them to do that.
Not necessarily, because picking up passengers, once they've picked up at the school, all they're doing is dropping off on the rest of the route. The other 69 bus that is leaving at the same time, basically tailing each other for the whole journey, could be there for the rest of the public to get on and off. And restrict their seats to 17 seats.
Mm. Yeah, it does seem ridiculous, and as I said, it's particularly affecting students here. Well, not just students, lots of people, adults as well, trying to get to work. So you would like to see, while we have this 25% restriction, Dublin Bus putting on specific buses for schools and allowing them to fill up like they do with the school buses elsewhere?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I don't see why they can't do that. Like I say, they're not putting on an extra service. They're running 2 buses at the same time. Just dedicate one of them for that one journey. One journey in the morning and one journey out at night, leaving the school, and dedicate it just for the school children.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and particularly the likes of, you said that the 69 terminus is outside his school, is it?
Yes, it is.
Right. So it would make perfect sense for them to put on just one of them, just for students, and run it the route, especially when they're coming out of school. That's where the problem seems to be. And in fact, I saw the same thing in Swords the other day. A whole gang, there must have been about 50 students standing at a bus stop, and I could see buses just driving past them, and all the kids all shouting at the bus driver, but
yeah,
he's only doing what he's been told to do. Do you think that this 25% capacity limit makes sense?
Yeah, I do actually. I think we do need to curb the spread of COVID, and I think the 25% is one way of going about it. And it's no different to having a maximum number of people in any shops at any given time. So I think we do need that social distancing. But in terms of getting the kids to school and back, if they're going to sit 30 kids in a class together, they can put 30 kids on a bus together.
Yeah, it is a very difficult one, because, as we said, the capacity on other school buses that are dedicated school buses that only have students on them don't have a capacity limit. Which,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all right. Stay there for 1 second, Steve. Sharon, your daughter is having panic attacks over this whole situation with limited capacity on buses. She goes from Cabra to Blanche, is that right?
That's right, yeah. She's She's just worried every day. She says, please pick me up from school. Please pick me up from school. I'm working and I have to stop everything, go over and collect her. Because she knows she'll be waiting over an hour and a half to get a bus home.
And has she actually waited that long?
Yeah. Buses haven't stopped. And there's like over 1,000 children in the school now. Obviously not 1,000 to get the bus, but a great deal of them do. And I went down yesterday to collect her at the back gate. And there was cars kind of just parked. There's a little housing estate there, and the cars were parked, and the guards were walking around trying to give people tickets.
Trying to give people tickets because they were collecting their kids from school?
Yeah, because you shouldn't be parked there, basically, is what they're trying to say. But, I said, look, I'll move the car. But, geez, talk about making a bad situation worse.
Yeah. And that doesn't show an awful lot of understanding for what parents... I mean, it's grand for some parents that are in a position, and I know a lot are, to go and collect their kids after school, and that's grand if they have a car and whatever, but this doesn't apply to everybody. So tell us what your daughter has been saying to you about this.
Well, she's just saying, she's ringing me from school after lunch, Mum, please, you're picking me up now, aren't you? I really don't. She doesn't want to stand at the bus stop. It's a crap journey home as it is, and then the nights, as that gentleman said, the nights are getting darker, the weather's getting worse. It's kind of going, it's not been highlighted, and I'm glad
that's what we're doing today. Yeah, that's what we're doing today.
I'm glad you brought it up because it's been ignored, and it is a serious issue.
Was it as bad when, before the midterm break, when capacity on buses was 50%?
She was getting the bus home then. Now, sometimes, the odd time she would miss it, or the bus would be full. So she'd get...
Okay, but it wasn't happening as much as it is happening now.
No, now it doesn't make any sense. It's happening. The bus doesn't even stop. It just drives by, and all the kids standing at the bus stop.
Now, I'm going to be speaking to a Dublin TD in a couple of minutes who has raised this in the Dáil and is asking for, while we're in level 5, for the bus limit to be brought back up to 50%. Would you support that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it doesn't make sense what's happening at the moment. Now, they want kids to stay in school. Yes, they can't get to and from school. It makes no sense.
All right, stay there for 1 second, Sharon. Our telephone number is 6797 981. If you're affected by this, you can send us a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. We'll take a quick break. We'll take more of your calls in just a moment.
The sound of the city, from Furhouse to Finglas. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Adrian, I am a bus driver, and there is extra buses put on every day for kids. Now, I understand it's disheartening for us as bus drivers leaving people at bus stops, but what do? We can only carry 17 people. Who do we carry first? Essential, non-essential, kids? I don't know, but it's disheartening for bus drivers to leave people at bus stops. And Dublin Bus, I have to give it to them, they have put extra buses on morning time and evening time for school children.
All right, thank you for your message. And that is the case. She's right in saying that extra buses have been put on, but unfortunately it's not enough at those peak times when people need to get home from school or from work or whatever. In fact, Nadia, you work as a midwife and have been left stranded after your night shift.
Yeah, unfortunately. So it's kind of happened twice now. So yesterday, kind of for the second time within 2 weeks, I was coming off night shift and 2 buses drove by me at the bus stop. Now there is other people at the bus stop obviously as well, but unfortunately yesterday when the second bus stopped, the driver said that only one person could board, and there was a woman there getting on the 151, which is the route I get to Clondalkin, and she got on, and I kind of said to him, look, I'm a midwife coming off a night shift, kind of in the hope that he'd let me kind of get on. When you're standing at the bus for 45, 50 minutes, you're cold, you're tired, you're worried about how much sleep now you're going to get, so that you're mentally and physically ready for the next 12-hour shift in a couple of hours. You just want to get on the bus. I know obviously they're at 25% capacity. They can only take 17, and trying to get on is breaking the rules, but it's really disheartening. He basically, and they don't say anything, he just closed the doors and drove off. So it was he just closed the doors in my face, didn't say anything, and was just gone. And you're kind of left then with the uncertainty of the next bus. Okay, you're waiting another 15, 20 minutes. Is that bus going to let you on? Do you know that kind of way?
And more to the point, is there even At the bus stop, so say that one that you weren't let on and you're waiting another 20 minutes. If another 3 people arrive at the bus stop, is there any way of you proving that you were there? Yeah, that you were there first.
No, absolutely not. And I suppose people are a bit wary now with COVID and everything going on. And like, obviously I'm in healthcare, so I know exactly what's happening on the front line. We are trying to socially distance. Everyone's wearing their masks. But it's like we've lost this sense of communication, like humanity. Do you know, nobody's chatting to each other at the bus stop. Everybody's kind of wary and staying away. And like, I get that. But at the same time, like, you still need people to, I suppose, communicate with each other and not be rude and, you know, try and get everybody a chance to get on. Like, and I'm not even the worst. I spoke to one of the healthcare assistants at work last night, and she told me that she was coming off a shift last week at 8 p.m. in the evening and 6 buses drove by her.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm quite lucky that, like, I was kind of third time lucky on the 2 occasions that it happened to me within the last 2 weeks. I got on the 3rd bus and I got home, and I'm in bed by kind of 11 o'clock.
But still,
You know,
after a long night's work, providing an essential service, if ever there was an essential service, a midwife is, to have to wait at a bus stop for that length of time and have buses go past you, it's just such a drag, if nothing else. Let me ask you about, as I said, I'm going to be talking to a local TD in a couple of minutes who wants to see next week, because the level 5 restrictions are being reviewed next week, and one of the things he's asked for is that the 25% capacity limit be raised to 50% immediately, because there's no need for it. Do you agree with that?
Well, I do agree, and I'll tell you why. This level 5 lockdown is completely different to our first one.
Absolutely,
We have schools open, construction sites are open, there's more essential businesses open than previously, which is wonderful, and we need it for the economy, and we need people at work, and we need kids at school.
Yeah, where back in April, nobody was going anywhere, so the 25% didn't make any difference. But yes, you're dead right. It's completely different this time.
You know, and I feel like whoever, I don't know if it's the NTA, if it's the TFI, if it's Dublin Bus, I've been on to them, I've been on to the TDs. I don't know whose responsibility it is to kind of catch up now with the times and say, look, this is open. 25% capacity is not feasible when this amount of people are using public transport and dependent on public transport. And it's so hard for the bus drivers. I'm sure it's awful when they're so used to letting people on the bus, and, you know, they're usually so chatty and cheery in the mornings. And it's like, they've just kind of lost that. Everybody's morale is kind of low.
Absolutely,
and it doesn't help when you're waiting around like that to get on, and you see other people waiting around, and people are getting quite selfish, I suppose, because you're trying to get home, or you're trying to get to work, or you're trying to get to school. It's just, I don't know how they're going to fix it, but I definitely think the capacity needs to be increased. There's more buses on the road for sure, but I think, you know, at 50%, you're still enabling those essential people to get to where they need to be. You know,
and again, like that is how does a driver differentiate between a school-going child and an essential worker, or somebody who's just hopping on the bus for the fun of it? Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's the really, really hard part.
It is
and
so
I feel
difficult
so sorry for them because they've no support. And they are getting abused. And I've been on the buses where people are abusing them because they're saying, I don't want to wear my mask, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. And like, that bus driver's just trying to do their job. They're frontline too. They're trying to keep themselves safe, their patrons safe. I don't know if someone else needs to be brought onto the bus. I don't know, like an inspector, a COVID officer. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to differentiate between
the simple way it seems to me to deal with this is to raise the capacity level again to 50% next week, and not wait until the 1st of December, because we are being flooded with calls from people, and I don't know. I haven't heard any example of one human being who's contracted COVID-19 getting on the 45 bus. I just haven't heard it.
I know.
Maybe it has happened, but I certainly haven't heard it. All right, Nadia, thanks very much indeed. Rachel, tell me what happened to your 15-year-old.
Yeah, my daughter was last Tuesday. She'd get the bus to school now. She gets the 7:30 bus every morning to go into school early with the bus the way it is. And at 20:04 she finished, and at 10:06 she got home. 6 buses, she said, drove by her. So her and one of her friends, you know, just walked down to a different bus stop and a different bus stop and a different bus stop, continuously until they get one. They nearly ended up near Walkinstown, she said. And she said that there was a bus stop they were at, and they were there before other people. And the driver stopped and allowed the worker people that worked on and left them stranded at the bus stop. So she ended up having to get like a 27 bus to the square and walk from the square home. Like. So it was 10 to 6.
10 to 6?
Yeah, and she finished school at 22. And it's too dark now to be kind of walking around on your own.
And realistically, in my opinion, if kids are walking home from school in the dark and arriving home at 20 to 6, that's a safety issue, if nothing else. That they're
100%.
They're literally being put in danger here.
Yeah, so literally, now she'd get the bus in the morning, but after school I'm having to collect her, and then her brother, and then her sister gets a different bus home because she's in a different school, like. But there's no school. The school doesn't facilitate a bus. They used to, but then the buses that done it stopped doing it this year, so it meant they've certain buses, like she goes to school down in Balrodry, and we live up in Kiltipper, so the other end of Tallaght, so it is a fair bit of a walk. And there is a bus that goes up towards Joestown, but none this way. So she's no choice but to get 77A.
Right, and that's been a constant problem. Do you also support the idea of raising capacity back up to 50%? And was she having a problem before when it was at 50?
No, she never had. She's always kind of got the bus home from school. So she's never had issues. Like the latest she'd get home would be 4:30.
Okay, but what I'm asking is, a couple of weeks ago when bus capacity was at 50%, she was able to get home okay, was she?
She was able to get home okay, yeah.
But now that it's been dropped to 25%, it's become a big problem.
It's become a problem. So like that, as I said, I have to go and collect her now. So you're literally getting home to get back out to get her. There's no other option because I said I can't leave her till 20 to 6. It's too dark to be walking on her own because some of her friends live in other ends. They don't live up this end. So she'd be on her own.
So she's walking, so she's walking on her own as well. That's awful.
She'd have to walk on her own. And she has a bike, she has a cycle, but it's too dark now. And with the way their school bags are as well, it's way too heavy to be carrying a school bag on your back cycling home.
Okay, so you would also support raising the restriction back up to 50% again?
100%. Okay. Especially with the likes of when the kids are off school and all, because they know.
Yeah, I mean, if even the capacity could be raised to 50%, from 7 to 9 in the morning and from 4 to 6 in the evening or something like that.
I think it would make a big difference for the kids getting home. And then like that for people that work, that have to get home, like.
And I know the Dublin Bus have put on extra buses, but it clearly isn't enough because we're being bombarded with calls from people who are definitely saying that it's not enough. Valeria, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Valeria?
Hi, Adrian. Thank you.
Valeria, is it?
Yes.
Your husband is a bus driver.
Yes.
And he's kind of bending the rules a little bit, is he?
Yes. The other day he came home and he told me, look, I got more people than I should get. And I was a little bit upset because he might lose his job. This is really important in these days to have, a good job, And he's explaining in his way, how would you feel if you have a space left and they are 10 people waiting the bus and they are waiting for an hour or an hour and a half, and because everyone was full and no one could get them. So outside it's raining, it's cold, it's it's really dark, really early of the day. It's not safe especially for the kids. And he said, how can you just say I can't get you? I know I'm breaking the law, and from the work they explaining, this is law. This is that you have to do.
And how much will he bend it? How many extra will he let on? He's allowed to let on 17. How many will he let on?
17. Yeah, the other day he got 38 people.
Oh, right. Okay, that's really bending it, isn't it?
Yes, but
and has he gotten into trouble for this?
He got an inspector, they are asking why he had so many, because they can see straight away on there's the protocols and they can see it. But he said, look, it's kids from the school, it's especially not during the day. He's not getting people so many on during the day.
Yes, but it's when kids are coming home from school is a big problem. Yeah.
Exactly. So he said, if it's kids, I'm getting I'm a father. I don't care. Even if I'm losing my work, I know I'm doing a good thing, you know.
Okay,
just
and a lot of people would say fair play to him, but he risks getting into trouble, doesn't he? He risks getting a good rap on the knuckles.
Yeah, but at the moment, like everyone, it's okay. Like everyone, it's thanking him, like, you know, for.
Okay, but he hasn't gotten into trouble yet, even though it is a possibility that he could.
No, because he was explaining like why, like he was getting.
I know. I understand why he's doing it, and I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard that midwife that would be delighted if he was on the bus that she's trying to get on. Yeah.
Totally agree with her. Like especially this level 5. It's if there was exceptions for school, for crash, for construction sites, and everything. Why shouldn't public transport be an exception
yes.
too?
No. I think a lot of people agree with that, and we'll see whether or not the government review this whole thing next week. Valeria, thank you for your call. A couple more calls to take after the break. This is 98 FM. 98. It's 11 o'clock across Dublin. Good morning. This is Adrian Kennedy. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And this is Laura with Wednesday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Good morning. An immunologist thinks we should celebrate Christmas at the end of January to further reduce the number of COVID-19 cases. We're now halfway into level 5 restrictions, with the chief medical officer describing the improvement in the profile of the virus as encouraging. The country's 14-day incidence rate is down by 51%, but Associate Professor at Trinity College, Tomas Ryan, believes a traditional Christmas could hinder our progress. Domestic violence, drug use and social media have been linked to a cluster of suicides in West Dublin. The HSE launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the number of young women who died by suicide in Ballyfermot last year. The Irish Times reports the rate of suicide in the area among women is 3 times the national average. The report describes services in the area as being under-resourced and says women don't seek help out of fear their children will be taken off them. And a further 200 jobs are to be created by TikTok over the next 3 months. It will have expanded its workforce in Dublin from 20 to over 1,000 in a year. It also plans to invest €420 million in Ireland with its European data centre, which it aims to build by 2022. And now you're up to date on 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
And good morning from Adrian Kennedy. We'll squeeze in just some more reaction to what's coming in on the bus situation and whether or not the government should immediately look at lessening that restriction on public transport, particularly here in Dublin, and particularly at rush hour times. Now, I know Dublin Bus have put on extra buses and it has alleviated the problem somewhat, but not totally. Kevin sent me this message.
Hi, Adrian. I actually used to get the bus to work myself, but I'm actually gave up on it now. I do an hour walk to work now, which is bad enough. And then when you're in work, you're on, like, it's a job where you're on your feet all day. You're running around all day, basically. So I can feel it when I get home, the fatigue I have now than what I used to. As I said, but I'd rather a kid get to school than me getting on the bus to work when I can still get to work by walking. But it's an absolute shambles of a situation though. It definitely has to be looked at. I know we're at level 5 and all, but it has to at least go to 50%. There's only so much you can take, and an hour walk to work with the weather it is now as well, it's not going to help matters. But hopefully something has to be done.
All right, Kevin, thanks very much indeed. Hayley, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Hayley.
Hi, good morning.
Now, you came across a kind of a rude bus driver.
Well, a few of them, yeah. But every morning, like, I get the bus route from the 8 a.m. from Ballyfermot to Walkinstown to the school. And for the last 2 weeks, we usually get the 8:20 bus, but he's not stopping. And like, I was putting out my hands as if to say, like, why? Because, like, you look at the number of the people on the bus and they're less than 12 at least. And he's just like, no. And then I walked up towards the lights, like, just there last Friday, and he looked out the window and he was like, well, it's my bus, like, I can't let you on and this is my job. And I was like, I know you can't let me on, but is that not, like, can you not send another bus out? You're going on a whole school route, you're going from Ballyfermot down towards Rathmines. There's a lot of schools on the way down there, do you know what I mean? And to have 17 people on a bus, like, the government told us, like, that they were going to work with the frontline staff and the school kids, and to only allow 17 people on public transport now, that 40% of the country is relying on that. Because
as we said already, this level 5 lockdown isn't a lockdown as we knew it back in April. It's very different. There are much more people out and about. The traffic is not normal, but it's not far from it, had the truth be known. And people need to get to school and to work and everything else, which they didn't during the last lockdown. So the 25% just seems ridiculous, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, if you're going to like try to get the country back to normal and you want people to go to work and you want kids to go to school, you're going to have to put the facilities out there. And people are saying, oh, they can't get more buses, they can't do this. Waiting to see them on strike next year when they're looking for their raise again. But they're not even doing, like, I don't blame the bus drivers.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
I'm blaming the companies, because if the poor bus drivers are getting sick off us, but they're getting told by their company, now you can't let these on the bus or you're going to have a fine or lose a job. So obviously they're not going to take more people on. And if they do, like, the people that are on the bus, like, they're going to pick out, if there's 20 people on that bus, 3 people is going to get a fine off that. Like, it makes no sense. So how are they asking us to cooperate with them if they're not doing nothing for us? And it's like that, like, people will say to you, why don't you get a licence or put them in a school area? It shouldn't be the point of that. You can, like, public transport is out there for a reason, for people to use it. So, like, people getting on the bandwagon and always, like, judging people that it's only a walk down the road or get a bike or get a car. It's like, that's like, you don't know people's situations.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know.
All right, so you would like to... was it as big a problem, Hayley, when the capacity was at 50%?
Well, I don't... Like, what they're doing now is completely, like, wrong. They're going to open the whole country on the 1st of December, cause riots as usual. Don't know what they're going to do with the bus situation.
Well, in theory, if we go back to level 3 or level 2, then the capacity of the buses goes back up to 50%. Let's have a listen to this from Thelma.
We've taxi drivers crying out for work. I wonder would any of them offer some help to the front line, you know, to the nurses and the doctors, and offer some discounted rates, or like a weekly deal, you know, where they're going to pick them up or drop them off. Sure, there's something that can be done beyond just our public transport. The buses are stretched to capacity. I get the bus to work myself too, and fro from work, and it can be difficult at times, but there are extra buses going on, and you know, the bus drivers are doing the best they can. This feeling of we're all in this together should stand when we're looking to see who can get on the bus and who can't.
All right, Thelma. Now, Noelle, you had 5 39As pass by you.
I do. First of all, I do support the level 5. You know, we are all trying to get rid of this.
Sorry, Noelle, your mobile is really bad. It's very hard to hear you.
Hi, can you hear me better?
That's a bit better. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I support the level 5 because we're all trying to get back to have some sort of normal Christmas. For me, I'm from Cork and I haven't been to home for nearly a year now. But I had my daughter had an appointment with the HSE orthodontal, which is in town, which is hard enough to get an appointment. And one appointment had already been cancelled because of the COVID. Her appointment was for 9 o'clock. I was at the bus stop at 7:15 in the morning, and at 8:30 I kind of gave up because at that stage there was a load of school kids, everything, and we just couldn't get in. We just couldn't get there. So obviously the orthodontist wasn't pleased that we didn't turn up, but I did ring them. I tried to get a taxi, and I was told, "Oh, you know, we don't have the taxi drivers aren't on." I don't think taxi drivers are out there because people aren't getting them. So it's just a very difficult situation.
And I know what you're saying about you support level 5, and the majority of people, I think, do support level 5, and it's great that we can see already that level 5 is starting to work and case numbers are going down and all of that. So that's all good.
It's the volume of buses needs to be increased. So and 39A was a very busy route. It comes all the way from Ongar to UCD. So it's a very busy use for college students, for all types of students, and you know, just for somebody trying to get to a medical appointment, you just couldn't do it.
Yeah, it is awful, and let's hope. In fact, like I said, I'll be talking to a local TD in a moment who has already brought this up on the Dáil, and let's hope something happens next week. One last call. Stephen, you are a bus driver yourself, and you're saying that this is completely out of Dublin Bus's hands, basically.
Yeah, it's the NTA that actually controls Dublin Bus. So anything, if we put on extra buses, we only have a certain amount of buses and drivers as well. We're actually short drivers in certain depots at the moment, So lads are actually doing some overtime and stuff like that just to create more buses to be put onto the road. Now, when we're full, as I said, I don't agree with this 7-day passengers. I think it should be at least 50% because we have, we take the abuse off the passengers. But at the end of the day, they're the ones that saying they left there 5-6 buses passing the boy an hour and a half. We've young kids as well. And they're trying to get home from school as well.
And I'm sure as a driver, Stephen, you feel awful in the pissings of rain driving past a bus stop.
Adrian, I swear to God, it's terrible. Nearly 20 years doing it now, and obviously you get to know your regulars and the locals getting on and off and stuff like that. We don't have to wear the face mask, and I never did on the 50% because we were okay. We were able to cope with it. It was only the odd bus stop that you drive by.
Yeah.
But now I'm at the stage where I swear to God, I have the visor up, I have sunglasses on, and I have a mask covering my face. I have the big one that goes right up just underneath my eyes.
Yes.
Just so I'm not recognisable because it's absolutely terrible. I give the little flash of the lights when I'm coming out to the bus stop just to let them know that I'm full. Or if there's one that I know there's only 2-3 minutes behind me, I'll give them the thumbs up and towns behind me. But I can't make eye contact with these people at the bus stop.
You must feel awful as well. I can only imagine.
Absolutely, and now we have a thing as well. As soon as we're full, now I have to say, I have a little bit of leeway as well. If I pull up to the bus stop and I only have 1 or 2 seats and there's 3 or 4 there, I'll take the extra 1 or 2 passengers. I have to. It's only human, you know. You have to do it.
And as a matter of interest, are you lads getting rapped on the knuckles by inspectors if you have 1 or 2 more on, or are they just turning a blind eye to it?
No, the likes of that, it's hard. We're driving a double-decker bus, as you know. The bus is nearly 37 feet long. So when you're looking upstairs in the camera, you can see most of the bus. Yeah, so you might miss 1 or 2, or you say, I might have 1 or 2 seats. You'll take a chance on it. But I mean, that girl that was saying her husband's a bus driver now and he's 38 passengers. Now that's just a recipe for disaster. That is an absolute. You shouldn't. You can't do that. They're going to try changing now. I'm hoping now in the next week or 2 maybe that they might go back up to the 50%. But as I said, it's the government guideline.
Somebody just messaged us a second ago. What would happen if next week they raise the capacity to 50% and 2 weeks later the numbers start going back up again? Then they'll extend the lockdown. Is it worth it? Is it worth the chance?
Well, you see, that's like I personally think now this level 5 of a lockdown now compared to the forcing that we had, people the majority of people were obeying by it. Now it's just a joke.
I agree.
It's an absolute joke.
Well,
I have people getting on the bus agent and they're even sitting in. I've got to the stage where I'm not even saying anything to them because they're just getting into an argument. They're getting on the buses and they're sitting clearly where the signs are. And then people are, left at bus stops and the seats there that have no signs on them and stuff like that. It's getting a joke.
Very frustrating. All right.
Don't care. Now, when we're full as well, when we call into the inspector and we let him know. So this morning I was on the Firswood Road and there was about 40 skill kits. Now, lucky enough, I said we only have a certain amount of extra buses that we can put out. But we got to the 3rd bus, I was full and I called them. I'd actually queue over and I called them. Now, when I turned onto the Firswood Road, there was about 40 kids, but he had 2 extra buses there waiting to pick up the slack there. But they wouldn't have even, if there's 40 odd kids there, 17 on each bus, that's 34 between the 2 buses. And I'm already full. There's 3 buses gone down. That's still
if you live down the country and you get a school bus, they can fill the bus.
Oh, and I know you understand what that guy was saying earlier on about, we were saying about the 69s. I personally drove them a couple of years back myself as well. And he is right, he's spot on. They're only every hour. But on the school runs, we have got 2 parked outside. One is for the school. It leaves, before the pandemic, it used to leave 5 minutes before the service car. Okay? Now, we're saying, we have certain ones that do school runs for Tala, Rackhill, stuff like that as well. And we're still only told, even though it's specified, it's a school run only. I was driving one through Kilnamanagh there about 2 weeks ago, and I drove down and I had 17 or 18 on board, and there was about 25 skill kids. And I couldn't stop because I can't, say, I'll take 2 or 3 and I'm still over, and then leave another 20 out at the bus stop.
Yeah, it's a mess. The whole thing is an absolute mess.
And rain, the dark mornings, and parents are concerned and sort of that. Now, we're getting it in the neck off them, and look, I know I can understand the people are frustration. They're going to take it out.
Let me just ask you finally, and you heard that message that I read out. What would happen if they raise the capacity to 50 and then cases start going back up again? Do you think, generally speaking, when capacity was at 50%, that people were safe enough on the bus.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, like everyone's wearing face masks.
Yeah,
it's very, very seldom that you'll get anybody getting onto a bus now without a face mask.
Yeah.
I'd say in the last 2 weeks now, I've probably had maybe 3 or 4 people, and the person would approach it and say, like, I have an underlying condition or whatever, like, and
Grant,
who are we to say that you don't? We have to let them on. But you look in the mirror, you look in the camera. Nearly every person is wearing it, so I just don't understand it,
All right, good to talk to you, Stephen. Thanks very much indeed. This is Ray.
I was just saying there, kids that are open to bullying, that are vulnerable to bullies, being left sitting around schools for up to an hour and a half, are just pretty much left like sitting ducks now. Just wondering, has anybody thought about that? And I'm sure there's a lot of students that are probably in that situation who are being picked on, because it goes on in every school, bullying. I've seen it myself in the school that I was in, and obviously everybody knows that bullying is a thing in schools throughout the country. I'm just wondering now, kids being left up to an hour and a half sitting around waiting on a bus, probably terrified whether they're going to be being subjected to bullying for up to an hour and a half every day. Has anybody even thought about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting take on that, Ray. Bridget.
Hi, Adrian. Sorry, I can't talk. I'm in work. My son goes to the same school in Balrodry as that last lady talking, and it was 6:30 last night when he got in, and he had to walk from Balrodry to the square. Now, we live in City West, so it's like that every evening now since the level 5 was reintroduced. Thanks, bye.
All right. Dave is also a bus driver, and he says they've been getting dog abuse.
Hey Adrian, just to reiterate to people that it's not the driver's fault. They're under instruction only carry 17. The dogs abuse we're getting off some people at rush hour. It's unreal. Just dogs abuse, foul language, gestures, people kicking doors and stuff like that. The drivers under instruction only take 17. If it hadn't happened, the first person to blame if there was more than 17 on it would be the driver. Thanks. Bye bye.
All right, and finally, something positive from Sinead.
Hi, my son walks from Ballymun to Finglas to school beside Cap Hospital every day. It's nearly 7 kilometres there and then home. But the bus is so bad. But now he's enjoying the walk and it's good exercise. So, I don't know. Thanks.
All right, Sinead, fair play to him getting that little bit of exercise. Just to wrap up this conversation, I want to bring in a Dublin TD who raised this whole issue in the Dáil yesterday. SocDem's TD Gary Gannon raised the issue of particularly school-going students and staff being left at bus stops in the morning and evening because of the 25% capacity. Gary Gannon, good morning to you. This whole thing has been caused by the level 5 restrictions.
So it's become a problem primarily under the level 5 restrictions, where Dublin Bus can only operate at a capacity of 25%. Now, we all accept that in the middle of a pandemic, some people are going to be discommoded to some sense. But it's absolute nonsense to think that we can keep our schools open, which is very important that we do. But while keeping our schools open, make sure leave our buses at 25%. And what that means is in the morning time, you're seeing kids who are missing a number of buses, not just 1 or 2 buses. There's talk of them missing 4 or 5 buses, giving up and having to walk to several miles to school. And then on the way home again, kids leaving school at 3:30, 4 o'clock. They're being left waiting at bus stops for up to 2 hours. And then they're getting home at after 6 in the evening. They're cold, they're wet, and then they're expected to do their homework. So it's quite a serious problem, Adrian, and it's really impacting just the school environment at the minute. Like it's not suitable for purpose having buses operating at 25%.
Now, we know that with the level 5 restrictions, one of the changes that is made is that capacity on public transport is reduced to 25% from what was 50%. Do you want to see it being immediately brought back up to 50%?
Yeah, I do, Adrian. I think it's, and I've talked to the Minister last night about this, and he seemed to share my concerns. If we can bring it back up to 50%, ensure that everybody's wearing masks on the bus. I don't think there was much in the way of documenting the way of transmission that was happening on bus and transports in terms of transmitting the virus. But it just doesn't make sense to have kids being left out. And I keep referring to kids, so you know what I mean. It's students having kids being left at bus stops. to and fro school. It's very important. We all agree that we have to keep our schools open. So in order to keep our schools open, we need to use all the infrastructure that we need to do so. Number one for that is public transport. So yeah, I definitely would like to see the transport being brought back up to 50%, ensuring absolutely everybody is sanitising before they get on the bus, wearing their masks. But because the situation that we have at the moment is it's simply untenable and it's a bit ridiculous.
Okay, and this is a particular problem in Dublin, where down the country, if kids are using school transport, there isn't such a restriction, but there is on public transport in Dublin. So it's mainly affecting children in Dublin, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, that's kids in Dublin primarily use Dublin bus transport. I suppose we're lucky in that way that we have a transport network in the way that they don't in rural Ireland. But what that means is that people are competing in the morning time to get onto the buses. Like if I walk down Fisborough, as I will very shortly, you'll still see it's past 9 o'clock now, and you'll still see people waiting at the bus stops trying to get into work, trying to get into school.
Is it a case we've been advised not to use public transport unless absolutely essential? So, for example, in normal times, I would get the bus into work, but for the last number of months, I've not been getting the bus into work. Is it a case that too many people are using the bus unnecessarily?
I don't necessarily think it is that at the minute. I mean, we're talking about too many people. Potentially, not everybody drives. Certainly not everybody drives in the city. Most people don't really need to drive because you might just have to get a bus or a train to their place of employment or to school. So people need to get where they need to be. So most people in work at the moment are basically essential workers. So they're working in hospitals, they're working in essential frontline services, some in retail, and then there's school kids. So there's most people that are actually using the bus at the moment very much need to use the bus. It just so happens we have a surplus of demand. But I suppose when you strip everything away in a pandemic, we get to see the supports that people need. So our frontline service workers very clearly need our buses. Our students getting the skills very clearly need our buses. So I don't necessarily think more people are using them than they should be. I just think that at level 5, we don't have the fleet. We don't have the fleet of bus services to meet the demand. And the 25%, well, I totally understand why it was considered to be done. I think we all realise it's not working. It's not working at all.
Okay, so what sort of reaction have you gotten from the Minister to your call to increase capacity?
He said there's going to be a review of the level 5 restrictions happening. I think this weekend we're at the halfway point. He said he's going to bring it back to Cabinet and discuss the potential for moving it back up to 50%. So, I mean, he was quite reasonable in his response, as he would be. There's no reason why he shouldn't. But I think now we have to get a little bit more logical in terms of saying that 25% capacity is actually it's filling up our bus stops more than anything else. So there's no point in saying that we can't have too many people at our buses when our bus stops are being filled up anyway. So let's just get our buses back to 50% capacity. Let's ensure that people are wearing masks, sanitising. Everybody's being very responsible at the minute. And I think we can get our school children and people to work in school where need be without causing further hindrance on them.
All right, Deputy Gary Gannon, thank you very much indeed for talking to us on 98
Thank
FM.
you.
98 FM's The Fix with Ciarán O'Connor.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. I'm just looking through my stack of old CDs and this big box of cassette tapes. Just getting together all the old school songs because every evening on The Fix I bring you an hour filled with throwback anthems.
The Fix.
I'll chat to you a bit later on just after 7 p.m.
98 FM. The sound of the city from Sallynoggin to Swords. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Now, next on the programme, an interesting discussion and an issue that many of you've probably faced. How do you deal with your partner having very close friends of the opposite sex? Does it bother you if they meet friends for social things like lunch, a drink, a coffee, a trip to the cinema, a walk in these times? Well, Becky sent me this message yesterday. I love this. I want you to have a listen to this and get your reaction to this. I'm wondering if you could talk about this to see if other girls are going through what I'm going through. I'm with my fella for almost a year now, and he has a lot of female friends. More female friends than male, actually. He meets up with them often for lunch or drinks when stuff was open. There's one female friend that he's been to the cinema with a few times. I've never objected to it because I didn't want to come across as possessive. But is this normal? He texted me earlier to say that he's meeting one of his friends who happens to be single and good looking, in my humble opinion, for a walk. I just said, okay. but it's actually starting to get to me. My friends keep telling me that this is just weird, but I can't tell him who he should or shouldn't be friends with. He knows these girls years and grew up with some of them. I trust him 100%, but my friends think I'm being naive. Just use my first name, and that is from Becky. So, under normal circumstances, he'd meet people for cups of coffee and females, that is. Yesterday, he texted to say he's going for a walk with one of his female friends. Would it bother you if your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, had a load of friends of the opposite sex? Let's do a little bit of a social experiment. And I want particularly women, because Becky's the one who has the issue here. Would you be happy with your fella meeting a female friend for lunch or for a walk or for a cinema date? Send me a WhatsApp right now to 0877 98 98 98. Is Becky just being ridiculously paranoid? Or has she a point? So send me a WhatsApp right now to 0877 98 98 98. Would it bother you if your fella met a female friend for lunch or for a walk or to go to the cinema if and when we can? Send me a WhatsApp to 0877 98 98 98.
The sound of the city from Saggart to Sutton. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
So you've heard the message that Becky sent in to us. She's gone out with her fella over a year now, and he has a lot of female friends, and under normal circumstances he'd be meeting them for coffee or lunch or whatever, the odd time for drinks. The other day, yesterday he texted her to say that he's meeting one of his friends who happens to be single and good looking, in my opinion, for a walk. I just said okay, but it's starting to get to me. Is she right? Sarah sent me this message saying she wouldn't be having a bar of it.
Yeah, I don't think that's completely normal, like going to the cinema and meeting up with different women all the time. I think I'd feel the same as her. It would get to me and I wouldn't be having a bar of it.
Yeah, wouldn't be having a bar of it. Another Sarah on the line here. Your namesake said she wouldn't be having a bar of it. You don't think it's weird at all?
No, I'm the total opposite.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. No, like, I've been in the same situation. I mean, I'm with my partner years, and the thing is that, like, he would have had, like, a lot of female friends, and now male, but, like, going back, and, like, that would have meeting up, gone to cinema, done whatever, like, if I didn't want to go. So my attitude was I'd get to know the girls. So, like, then they'd be inviting me out singly with them, or we'd all go out together, and I have trust in him, so I'd never had an issue. You know, so. But
was it because you kind of got to know the girls?
Yeah, I think if you want to, like, get over that initial, oh God, something's going to happen, you're going to have to get to know them.
Yeah.
Because you can't turn around and say, sorry, you cannot go out with them people. Like, you can't go for a walk, you can't go for a coffee.
But like, by making it your business to get to know them, then you trusted them a bit more?
Yeah, like. Now, in fairness, you know, we still be a bit like, like something in the back of your head. But at the same day, I would just be like, well, I trust him. And they now know me. So I would kind of go, I would think now they wouldn't, you know, even if they wanted to act on something, they wouldn't.
They'd be
do
less likely to now because they've actually met you. Because you're, they can put a face. They can put a face to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think that's it. And, like, I get on really well with all of them now. So, you know, it's a plus I got more friends, so I don't mind.
Yeah, okay, so it's a win-win. So maybe, the girl he went for a walk with yesterday is single and good-looking, in my humble opinion, she says. So she obviously knows her, that's the point. And maybe that's what has her doubting, I don't know. Here's, have a listen to this message that just came in. Oh my God.
Hi there, I'm driving now, so I can't text. This is just so weird. I would never let my partner to go for a walk or cinema date on his own with her friends and female friends for a drink. Cinema date? What is it? I mean, if he wants to do that, he can. Three of us can do it. Go with her. I'd be more than happy to meet her, you know, but there is no way he's going on his own with female friends to a cinema date or for a drink. No.
Ooh, trust issues there, I reckon.
Definitely. Like, if he turned around and said, oh, I'm meeting blah de blah, and I'm like, oh, who's that? I've never heard of the name. I literally ask, who's that, and how do you know them? You know, a normal kind of conversation. I'd never go, well, no, sorry, you're not going.
I'm coming with you.
Yeah, I'd never do that. I'd like, who is it? And I'm like, I'd like to meet them someday. You know, I'd put it that way, and I'd leave it at that. And then, like, I'd go, oh, here, Sarah was talking to you about you. And then, you know, that's when kind of the whole thing would go that, oh yeah, I'd like to meet her. That's what's happened before. So I would just think it's just trust, and you don't own the person, so you cannot say to them you can't go.
No, obviously you can't. But if it's bothering her, and it clearly is, and listening to other messages, it bothers other women as well.
Then they just need to talk to their partner. You just need to talk to them and have a conversation to put your mind at rest, because the thoughts are just eating away at you, and no matter what they say then in the future, you won't believe what they say because you've already put this picture in your head.
Yeah, I just got a message in a moment ago. I was on the receiving end in a previous relationship, and this is from a woman. It was horrible. I could never go anywhere with male friends. I always said if I didn't want to be with them, then I wouldn't. So it's all about trust then, I suppose. Stay there for a second. Dermot, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Dermot.
How you getting on, Adrian?
You don't believe it's normal to have that many friends of the opposite sex?
Well, it's not that it's not normal. You can have, like, what would you class as a healthy mix of, you know, mixed friends. But, like, I'd be asking, if I was her, I'd be asking myself a couple of questions. Like, is he comfortable going shopping with her? Has he ever told her that, you know, the bag doesn't go with them shoes? Does he cry at, you know, soppy movies? If he's had to surround himself with that many women and he's no problem going to the pictures, I'd be asking different questions. Is he more in touch with his feminine side?
I don't know what you're even getting at, though.
Could he be gay?
Because he's loads of female friends.
Well, he obviously, you know, he's very, very popular, and he seems to be very comfortable in their company.
Well, what she says in her message is more female friends than male.
Bing, bing. Bing, 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 bing. There goes Mel.
Well, I could argue with you that means he's as straight as an arrow.
Yeah. There's something not at all. Would you stop the light?
Okay, all right.
And if your woman is as good looking as the woman says, right?
Jeremy's just saying in my ear here, Hugh Hefner had loads of female friends. Would you think he was gay?
Yeah, but he's a multi-millionaire, wasn't he?
No, but do you get the point?
And he could have well been. But this.
And some of these friends are friends since they were kids.
Yeah, but he's like he seems to graduate more toward. Now he may be in touch with his feminine side, as in, you know, he finds it easier to relate to women. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's gay.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You know what I mean? But if he has more female friends than male friends, then obviously he's attracted to them in that sense that he finds it easier to communicate with them, to get on with them, to socialise with them.
Okay, stay there for 1 second. I don't know how you can say having loads of female friends for a bloke is a sign that he might be gay. Jason sent me this.
Not a hope is that normal, right? I don't care what anyone says, especially if they're good looking. She needs to just leave him or something.
Oh, leave him. Dump him. Emma, you're on 98 FM. You just heard that message from Jason. She needs to dump him, basically.
Oh, I don't know what to even say. Like, for example, I was with a fella a few years ago, and my best friend was a fella before I met the fella I was with.
Right.
And he had absolutely no issue. We went to the cinema, we went for food, and like that, nothing ever happened between us, but we were friends.
Mm. And had you been friends for a long time?
We had been friends for years before I met him.
Right.
And he had absolutely no issue because he knew, like, obviously, if it was going to happen between us, we would have been together before I had met him anyway.
Yeah, of course.
But even while we were together, I went to the cinema with this fella, we went for food, we, you know, went for a drive, we chilled. You know, like, he used to come over to my house on a Sunday and we'd get a takeaway, but nothing ever happened between us. And the fella I was with at the time had absolutely no issue with it. But I think everyone thinks that if you're friends with someone of the opposite sex, you automatically fancy them. But that's not the case. Just because you think someone's good looking doesn't mean somebody else thinks.
No, well, that's very true. Yeah.
You know, so this is.
But I'm hearing from a lot of people saying, no, this is not normal. It is not normal if you're in a stable relationship to be going out on play dates and cinema dates and all of that with.
But that's like saying if you're in a stable relationship, you shouldn't be going out and hanging out with the lads. You know, why can't you have female friends?
A lot of lads do give up on that. Do you know what I mean? When they.
Yeah. But I just don't understand why, because they are the opposite sex, that people assume they're going to fancy them or do something. And the fact that he is saying, look, I'm meeting up with this girl, I'm going for a drink, or I'm going for whatever, coffee with her. The fact that he's being honest and telling his girlfriend, I just don't think, if he had something to hide, he wouldn't be telling her.
Yeah, no, I get that. So she's the one with either insecurity or trust issues then, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. But
she needs to get over herself.
Yeah.
Unless he has, unless he has form.
The fact that she did say that this girl was very good looking.
She did say that. Yeah.
Just a very classic sign that she is very obviously, not happy with herself.
Insecure, yeah.
Insecure. So
okay, so she needs to build a bridge and get over it. Unless this guy, as I just said, has form for cheating or whatever, but that certainly hasn't been suggested in her message. This is from Caroline, who says most of her friends are male.
Hey, Adrian. I wouldn't really care if my partner had a friend of the opposite sex. I'm a female, obviously, and most of my friends are male. And he has no problem with that either. So I think it's just one of those things that you just need to get over. Just don't see a gender in it and just say, well, we're going to see my friends today, kind of thing. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Caroline. And Dave makes a valid point.
Adrian, these women are gas saying their fella can't do this and their fella can't do that. And I know we're all laughing about it, but imagine if it was a man saying it about a woman. There'd be a whole different tone to this conversation. I think Becky needs to stop taking advice from her friends and maybe build a bridge and get over herself.
Yeah, you could be right, Dave. Maybe you'd be accused of coercive control if we're the other way around. Daniel, it says on my screen here, that girl is very naive. What girl is very naive?
Hi, Adrian. Well, I'm talking about the girl who sent...
who sent the message in the first place. Becky is her name, yeah.
Becky,
why is she very naive?
Well, look, there are two ways that guy could be. Either he's part of, let's say, LGBT.
I know, there's no need to be having this conversation because he's female friends. That doesn't make him gay.
Well, I have a gay brother. And I know,
sorry, if anything, if he was gay, he'd be hanging around with loads of blokes, would he not?
Yes, also female, a lot of female. Of course, without the X factor, if you know what I mean. I have an uncle who's gay, and I know that they have a lot of female friends,
right?
On a platonic way. Also, the other way is that he's cheating on her heavily, or to her face. Like,
so back to Becky. You say she's being naive. She's being naive for accepting. Well, she's not overly happy with it, by the way.
And for good reason.
Yeah,
for good reason. Look, Adrian, I'm going to tell you something that everyone knows, right? And I'm going to be a little bit harsh, but men are dogs.
Men are what?
Men are dogs.
Are dogs?
Yes.
Okay, I can't.
You know what I'm talking about.
I can't argue with that. No, you're right.
Well,
men are dogs. This argument that having female friends means you're gay is just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're saying basically, Daniel, that men are dogs, they can't be trusted, and this woman's right to have an issue with it.
Look, trust in a relationship goes as far, okay? But when stuff like this happens, like it's not, she's very worried because she has several female friends.
Okay, so she needs to stop being naive and to put her foot down, basically.
Confront him.
Okay, confront him. Fair enough. Adrian sent me this message. Has zero interest in her male friends.
I have a large group of friends, mainly about 10 of us, and 3 of them are fellas. And if any of their girlfriends or anything had an issue, I'd be actually really upset because we've no interest in them. We're just friends with them. We've known them since we were kids, and just join in with us because the more the merrier. No, shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, Ryan sees himself as a bit of a ladies' man.
Hey, Adrian. I'm in with a girl the last 3 years and we've nothing but trust in our relationship. I'd be known as a flirt, but she knows. Why would I go out for a McDonald's when I have the steak at home?
Good man, Ryan. You've convinced her that. Well done. Kim sent me this.
And listen to that topic there, Adrian, about that fella that hangs out with
girlfriends a lot. Yeah, no, it wouldn't be all right with me now, to tell you the truth. I just think it's a bit weird. Whatever it is, like about maybe inviting his girlfriend with him, and they all go out and they all get to know his girlfriend and stuff like that. Go out all together rather than just like him and a girlfriend. It's a little bit weird, and I would feel a little bit, maybe a little bit paranoid. I feel a little bit stupid as well, especially when people that the both of us would know would see him and his friends out a lot, his girlfriends out a lot together, and like I'm as bored, you know. I just think it's a little bit strange. Maybe it's nothing, but I suppose she's better off having the chat with him and telling him how she feels, and maybe bringing her along instead of leaving her behind.
All right. JD sent me this. He says his wife would be having none of this.
Adrian, Jeremy, JD here. If I said I was going for a walk with a female friend, or going to the pictures with a female friend, I'd be bleeding battered. I wouldn't even think about it. So good luck, that one. I wouldn't yell out. Good luck.
All right. And Jay?
How's it going, Adrian? The question is the guy she's going out with good looking? Because if he's like, let's face it, if he's a moon pig, he's not getting any women. But if he's a good looking lad, meeting loads of girls, the only one thing that's going to happen. That's what I think. Cheers.
All right, and finally, Mark.
Hi, Adrian. I'm just listening to your conversation about the guy that wants to meet this girl and have a cup of coffee or go for a walk. You know, if I said that to my missus, there'd be 2 hits. She'd hit me and I'd hit the floor. That's never going to happen in their relationship. And I tell you what, any woman that allows that to happen, I don't know, madness. I'd love it to happen. It'd be great, wouldn't it, to live a life like that? But it's not going to happen in the real world, you know. Good luck. Thanks for that.
All right, Mark. Thanks very much indeed for your message and for all of your messages. Interesting conversation. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. 98 FM's Parent Talk is next.
The sound of the city, from Sallynoggin to Swords. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
And you're very welcome back. It's time for this.
98 FM's Parent Talk with Super Value Home Delivery. Get your lunchbox fillers sorted with Super Value Online Shopping.
Every Wednesday at around about this time, we bring you 98 FM's Parent Talk, where we're joined on the programme by our parenting expert, Joanna Fortune, who can answer your questions for you. We ask you to send them in, and if you have a question that you'd like to put to Joanna, all you have to do is send us a WhatsApp to 0877 98 98 98. Joanna, good morning and welcome to 98 FM as always. How are you?
Delighted to be here. I'm good.
Okay, now let's have a listen. Some interesting questions this week for you. Can you ask Joanna if it's bad to have children involved in too many activities? We have an 11-year-old and sometimes I think she's too busy. She does camogie training twice a week. She has piano lessons once a week. It's on Zoom at the moment. She was doing swimming twice a week before lockdown, which she'll be returning to when it's lifted. I just feel that she may have too much on, says Audrey in Ballycullen. It's an interesting one.
Audrey, it is, but you know, I agree with you. I think we do tend to overschedule our children. I think it comes from the best possible motivations. Now, I want to emphasise that it's about giving our children, you know, all of these opportunities and, you know, exposing them to, you know, physical activities and creative activities, so they've all these outlets, and I think that's great. But this is a little girl who basically has something on 5 days a week. And the problem with that is that it doesn't give our children any space, any unstructured free time during which they can process everything that's going on in their week, make sense of it all. Because we forget that for children, sometimes sitting there doing nothing means something. It means everything at times. And we're also, you know, parenting our children in such a way that we never give them the opportunity to be bored. We see boredom as a bad thing, when actually, you know, not just children, I think all of us could do with more time to be bored, because boredom is that free-floating state of attention where creativity and desire emerge. So I think if you're even questioning, look, I think she might have too much on, then you know the answer. I would always be led by the child in question. If you have a child who is managing everything fine, is not showing you signs that she's overwhelmed, is not showing signs that she's tired, or that she's getting irritable by the end of the week, or she's just not having time to simply do nothing, or to play, or to just sit and lounge around reading, then yes, it's too much.
I wonder if it's actually Audrey who has the issue with her doing too much, because maybe she's having to drop her left, right and centre.
But that is also a consideration, though, because you do end up being your child's taxi driver, and it all just becomes a bit frenetic and manic. And then nobody's really getting the benefits that you set all this up for, because it's always in a hurry. Come on, let's do this and let's go here. So I think actually children do need activities. They do need extracurricular things in their life. But I think 1 to 2, which would be 1 to 2 evenings a week, is enough. So given that the sports is twice a week, I'm kind of assuming one of those might be a weekend day, and that's okay. I would say piano plus 1 sport is enough. I think 4 days of, twice a week swimming, twice a week camogie plus piano, that's a lot. I would tone that back. And it's not that you're saying she can't do it. Sometimes it's about giving them choices. Okay, you get to do 2 things. One has to be a sport, because I'm a big fan of keeping children, particularly girls, because we know they drop out of team sports in early adolescence, keeping them in that. So one must be an active thing, ideally a team sport, because there's so much benefits, and one is a creative thing. But I think, we do overschedule our kids. So I think if you've got a question, Audrey, I'd roll that back.
All right, very good. Joanna, thanks very much. And then Susie sent us this message last week. And by the way, if you do have a question that you want to ask Joanna, send it to us to WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Anyway, how do I teach my 4-year-old to share? He won't share any of his toys with his 2-year-old sister. He's so possessive. I've also been told that in his creche he's the same and gets very angry when another child tries to play with the toys that he's playing with. This is causing a bit of embarrassment for us. We keep telling him that sharing is caring, but it's not getting through to him. That's from Susie.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because sharing is typically learned as children's social and emotional cognitive development's increasing. So, for example, a 2-year-old struggling to share, absolutely developmentally normal, because they simply don't want to, and they haven't yet learned to consider another person's point of view. A 4-year-old, however, does have the capacity to take on another person's point of view. They do have that capacity to project and think, how might the other person be thinking and feeling? Now, it's not that they've nailed it by 4, but they definitely are developing that capacity in a way their toddler sibling certainly wouldn't. So I'd be interested in that. And what is it about sharing that he really doesn't like? Is it because he's afraid he won't get it back? I think sometimes we can insist our children share when actually they haven't had enough time with the item in question. So they feel that we're taking it from them rather than they are giving it. So there's a whole kind of school of thought out there about, a child will share when they're ready to give it over. Now, some of that's true, to be honest, Adrian, and some kids are going, no, if you say I can keep it, I'm going to keep it. So I would actually do something along those lines, but using a verbal cue like, I know you're going to give your friend or your sister a go when you're done with it. And I know that because you're a good kid and you're good at sharing. So you're telling him what you expect, but you're doing it in, when you're done, you'll give it over. Generally speaking, children will keep it for another few minutes and then they'll hand it over. But in that situation, they've done it on their terms and they're much more happy to do it. In general, I would use wondering and say, I wonder how it would feel if you really wanted something and your friend had it and wouldn't give you a go. Wonder how other people might be feeling. At his age as well, he's in that stage 2 developmental play, using the small world, little characters and building stories. So use that. I call it story stemming in my books. But what you basically do is take little characters to represent him, his little friends in school, teachers, whoever it is, and play out a sharing scenario, short, sweet, succinct, beginning to end, a couple of minutes long, showing the behaviours you want to see, not the behaviours you don't want to see. So basically play him out sharing and praising the effort. Oh, such good sharing, that's fantastic. Model sharing yourself. Make sure that, if you're having a biscuit, would you like to share it with me? It's nice to share, that you're doing a lot of that. And build some turn taking into play, because sometimes the word or concept of sharing is triggering. But if you can reframe it as turn taking, it's my turn, now it's your turn. Little board games, things like that snakes and ladders, those types of games are actually very useful for turn taking. Anything basically, though, even involving passing a ball between you or having goes with balloons, anything like that you can say my turn, your turn, that's how you're going to build up his capacity.
But
for
it is something that most children eventually get.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And if he's just turned 4, I'd be giving him a few months leeway on this, you know, to be honest with you, because it's not like they wake up on the morning of their 4th birthday and they've nailed it. It's just that he has capacity now. So once you know he has capacity, it's our job to build on that.
All right. Brilliant advice as always. Joanna Fortune, thank you very much indeed for joining us again this week. And 98 FM's Parent Talk is with Super Value Online Shopping, supervalue.ie. That's it from us for today. Thank you for joining us. We're back again tomorrow morning at 10. If there's anything you want to bring up on the programme, throw us an email right now to dublintalks@98fm.com. dublintalks@98fm.com. Barry Dunn is on the way, and in the next hour he's got some great music lined up like these.
Just hold on, we're going home. Rain on me, rain on me.
Now you're dressed in black. When I left you were dressed in white. Can you feel me?
98